Salute, salute, salute. Wow. Nocturnal Thoughts, man, what's happening? So, what's next for Saul Canelo Alvarez? Cinnamon. He just came off of a performance, a dominating performance against John Ryder. Knocked him down, busted up his nose, you know what I'm saying? Pitched a shutout, 10 rounds to 2, right? But somehow, some way, for Canelo, in a dominating performance, still seemed to lose some steam off of his performances against Billy Joe Saunders and Caleb Smith and Caleb Plant. You know what I mean? And it's like this debate going back and forth between who's the face of boxing, between Gervonta Tank Davis and Canelo, which I kind of find to be an odd debate. Because if it's in question, if it's debatable, and you're looking at Canelo, who to me is obviously like slightly on the decline from his pinnacle, from his zenith, from his peak performances, you lose to Bivol. Then you have a performance that wasn't just great against Gennady Golovkin, who was older already, and this is the third time you fought him. Like when I seen Juan Manuel Marquez fight Manny Pacquiao the fourth time, it ended in a dramatic knockout of Manny Pacquiao. And I'm looking at Canelo. If you're fighting Gennady Golovkin for the third time, the performance, to me, should have put somewhat of like an exclamation point, stopping him in dramatic fashion. But Triple G still looked somewhat tough and durable in his last fight against that one guy, I forget his name, sue me. But so I'm like, okay, you didn't get the knockout, cool. Then we looking at he had some injuries he wanted to deal with, and you come back and you fought John Ryder. I really wasn't familiar with John Ryder. The only time I looked at John Ryder was his fight. I watched John Ryder's fight against Caleb Smith when I was looking at how Canelo would do against Smith. So my thing was, John Ryder was tough and durable. You know what I'm saying? I was looking at John Ryder like, this dude ain't like a pushover. To me, he at the same level as Smith. And Smith went the distance with Canelo, but he busted his whole bicep off of his arm. So I'm looking at John Ryder like, he probably will go the distance, but Canelo should get the knockout if he's trying to, you know, fighting in his hometown. I don't want to say the name wrong. Guadalajara. Forgive me if I say the name wrong. But he's fighting in front of his hometown. He's coming off from a surgery. So I'm like, yeah, he's not going to be 100, but he wasn't that great against Triple G, and then he lost against Bivol. But he didn't get dominated. He got dominated against Bivol, but he didn't get demolished. He didn't get his body completely broke down. Like Bivol doesn't have that type of fighting style that's just like breaking down Canelo to where he's not going to be able to, you know what I'm saying, like go and lick his wounds and go back to the drawing board. Like he gonna beat him, but he gonna, like, Bivol knew when to back off of Canelo. Canelo would wave him in, and he's like, nah, I'm gonna keep you right here where I want you at the end of my jab, but he didn't go in for the kill. So Canelo still was able to, you know what I'm saying, go back to the drawing board, go fight Triple G, then fight John Ryder, and now we looking at like a fork in the road where it's like, do you want to try to fight Bivol again and get your revenge, either at 168 or 175, which that's a hang up, because like if you fight him at 168, of course people gonna say you couldn't beat him at 175, you had to drain him down. But then you got Bivol who's saying, I want to fight him at 168 because I won his belts. That's like a conundrum. So Canelo only going to get half credit damn near either way. If he fight Bivol, he's only going to get half credit. Yet he would have to fight Bivol 3 times and beat him 2 out of 3 times. And at one time, it would have to be at 175. So only thing to me, what would kind of make sense for Canelo is if he fought Bivol at 168 and won, and then fought him again at 175 and then wins that fight, and that can kind of erase that idea that no matter what, Canelo could never beat the fighting style of Bivol, right? That's kind of a tough road to hoe that route, in my opinion. But that's the only route that would make sense. If you would fight him once at 168 and then beat him, and y'all even Steven, you still fought him at 168. So you still ain't really proved that you can beat this dude at his best if you already done lost to him, right? So I'm like, why would you go that way? Because the other way you can go is the way that everybody wants you to go. All the fans want you to go David Benavidez route, the Mexican monster. You know what I'm saying? El Bandera Rojo. Everybody wants you to go David Benavidez route. He just put on a great performance against Caleb Plant and he didn't get the knockout. So that's why I'm scratching my head, because some people like, David Benavidez is going to knock out Canelo. But David Benavidez didn't knock out Caleb Plant, and Canelo knocked out Caleb Plant. So what makes you think that David Benavidez automatically knock out Canelo? It's weird to me that that's just the foregone conclusion. I think it'll be a tough fight. I think it can go either way. I think Canelo could beat Bivol with a different game plan, but I think it's a catch-22. And if you beat him at 168, it does little for your whole face of boxing argument. It's just that's a 50-50 break-even type of a fight. And you got to fight him again. And if you don't fight him again at 175, it's spinning wheels. If you fought David Benavidez, because David Benavidez is a killer. He is a monster. And he's on a warpath. That fight has so much more movement and motion and momentum and hype and smoke and fuel and coal and fire behind it, that fight could be the legacy fight. Because Canelo really never had like a big rivalry. Triple G was sort of kind of, you know, you lost to Mayweather. You had some good fights, Daniel Jacobs and Trout and Lara and Jacobs and you know, Billy Joe Saunders and Caleb Plant and so on and so forth. You had some great opponents, but the nemesis aspect, the yin and the yang, the guy that is like, you know what I'm saying, poses this threat, like David Benavidez is this young bull, this young lion. And my thing is, if Canelo fights him and beats him, you ain't got to argue who the face of boxing is no more with Gervonta Tank Davis. You know what I'm saying? That shit is a dead conversation. Like, that's one of those fights. So you fight David Benavidez and you beat him, it kills the conversation. It blocks out, it kills the white noise. You know what I'm saying? Just fade to black. Canelo could just close the curtains. And if you lose to David Benavidez, then shit, you could lose to Bivol. But if you lose to David Benavidez, you could pass the torch like a G, like a great. But my thing is, that's 50-50. To me, if Canelo can go back to the well and find that motivation and that greatness, because it's not like he's declined 1 or 2 steps from his prime. His prime and his peak is still higher than whatever David Benavidez has able to climb, period. David Benavidez hasn't even been to the mountaintop yet. You stepping down, so you kind of meeting him on the way down. He's on the way up, you on the way down. You still got a little bit more momentum on your side. You got the advantage of having higher ground. You still A side. If he beats David Benavidez, he'll face a boxing. If he loses to David Benavidez, he can pass the torch to David Benavidez, and Gervonta Tank Davis can take his place, rightfully so, as the king of boxing, face of boxing, cash cow of boxing, pound for pound, whatever you want to call it. Nocturnal Thoughts. Bow. I'm gone. Salute, man. Let me know what y'all think in the comments below. Subscribe to the channel. I'm gone.